everybody. Welcome to the Hustling Sideways podcast. I'm Alan Halas. I'm a music writer.
And I'm Jim Love, and I'm a keynote and motivational speaker. And we are
And this
back.
is,
We're here. We are good.
yes, and I don't actually know the number. I think we are close to 80 when it comes to the Hustling Sideways podcast. I
That's
think we're
right.
at 7. This might be 79.
I think you're right. And you know what that means, Alan, is that 80 is going to be a check-in. And that might
Yes.
be, I feel like that's going to be a happy hour driven check-in again. We kind of are overdue to have a drink or three and then come and talk about life for a little while.
Yeah, and we've been doing a lot of podcasts over at Marquette University at the 707 Hub. So I when COVID first hit, this room that I'm in had a podcast going just about every week. There was something, right? I think this is the first time in about a month and a half that I've actually done a podcast in this office, which has become just a mess, but don't worry about that. But
I'm
Jim and I have been doing these podcasts as well at Marquette. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's been a while since we've been in the same room and recording it. So
absolutely, and we've had a blast there. More to come. I know if you're listening to this show, it's we're in the throes of May now and getting into summer, which is awesome. And we'll have a lot more next semester. Just a lot of ideas going on there at the 707 Hub, which has been great. I also need to say that I wouldn't call it a bet, but I had someone who challenged me to say something on this podcast who listens to this show. He goes to the Milwaukee Athletic Club often. His name's Michael. He's a great guy. And Michael, I
okay.
have to say, the redfish swim at midnight. And he's
Oh
going,
wow. Okay,
yeah,
wow.
don't worry about it. Just know that that's a thing. And there's a
Okay.
story behind that. And I can get into that sometime. But
Yeah, at
he's
some
a
point we'll
valuable.
talk about it.
Basically, what
But
it comes down to is that there was a wedding and they were told to tell the bartender it was about to close, say the redfish swim at midnight, and it didn't work. And it was a big joke. He told the whole place. It was really funny. So I had to say that.
okay. All right. Jim, you also started this morning in another city. You were flying today.
I did. I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I flew out. I got home about an hour ago, and it's
And
for the
boy,
love of
are
the
his
game.
arms tired.
That's right. That's right. I got to get some sleep tonight, but until then, I'm here. I'm ready to rock. I still have my dress pants on, which is always an issue when I'm at home. That will be shorts pretty soon when I'm done here. But great day, great week, and excited to dive in. And we, as we always do, have a guest, which is
Yes,
awesome.
we do.
So
Yes.
we're excited to introduce him. And as you know, we have many friends of this show, and one of those friends' name is Carl. Carl's a great guy, and he actually might be on this sometime. But Carl introduced me to this next gentleman, and really had him in mind to do this show. So this would be a really good guest to have. So I'm just going to get into it, and so our guest is Zach Neisius, who is a salesman by day and a referee by night, who deals with fans like me who are shouting things
Boo.
and
Boo.
booing
Oh, I'm
and all
sorry.
sorts of
Sorry.
things.
It's just a instinctual thing.
Natural
I'm
reflex.
sorry.
That's okay.
I don't know. I heard the word referee and I booed, but
That's wild.
we will not boo you. Zach,
This is one
welcome
of
to the
our favorite
program.
refs, so we're good. So round of
Yeah.
applause for Zach for being here. You've made it, which is fantastic. But Zach, welcome to Hustling Sideways.
Hey guys, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Well,
Such a
let's
warm
start
welcome
off.
that we gave him.
I know, right? Yeah, that was probably like the meanest like welcome we've ever done. But it's all in good fun too. We're
I'll
happy.
be honest. I'll say that's probably not the worst I've ever heard when they see me walk out on the floor of the field. So we're off to a good start.
Fair
Okay,
assessment.
great.
Appreciate that. We definitely aren't the worst. That's good. We always want to hear that. Whenever that's a good day when we're not the worst. But Zach, you were calling in from Reedsburg, Wisconsin, which is great, and another local folk here. Tell us a little bit about your family, your background, where you grew up, and where you're at today.
Yeah. So like you guys mentioned, right now I live in Reedsburg, Wisconsin. I do sales currently for my professional job with a company called Just a Game. Most people know them for a basketball volleyball facility in the Wisconsin Dells, but we also do apparel, uniform equipment sales for a lot of like local high schools, club teams, universities, a lot of stuff on the B2B side, with like bars, restaurants, and all the resorts in town as well. So work a lot on that side. Um, but originally from Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin, which is right on the Mississippi River next to the terrible state of Iowa. Sorry if anybody from Iowa is listening to this. But
We can boo
went
them
to
too. That's fine. I'm here to boo
Yeah,
everybody today. It's
boo
great.
them all. Yeah.
perfect. Graduated from high school in 2016 and went to the University of Wisconsin La Crosse for a sports management degree. Up there, I met my now wife in our freshman year of college, and we moved back. COVID kind of screwed up the whole timeline up for what our plans were originally going to be. Kind of seems to be the theme nowadays, doesn't it? Uh,
Yes.
but got engaged in 2020 when COVID began. We got married on October 22nd of 2022, so we're coming up on a year and a half of marriage together, which is exciting. And she's a physician assistant for Gunderson Health in Hillsborough, Wisconsin, currently. So, and then we have our first kid coming on the way as well. So,
Oh,
Oh, wow.
congratulations.
All
I
right.
appreciate it.
It's
Yeah.
a stretch for Travis. That was not, I didn't expect that. That's it. All
Yeah,
right.
it's
So
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So yeah, tell us a little bit more. Kind of were you growing up? Were you an athlete? You look like you probably played football or basketball growing up. Just assuming. I don't want to
Yes.
generalize, but looked like
Yeah.
an
So
athlete growing up.
yeah, definitely. In high school, growing up, played obviously, your youth baseball, basketball, youth football, and all that. High school played football, basketball, baseball throughout the time span, and then got recruited to go play baseball at a couple of schools. Got recruited to play basketball, lacrosse. So lacrosse was close enough to home versus having to travel down to Chicago or some of these larger, liberal arts schools and pay a crap ton of money to go there. Um,
Mhm.
Versus going to lacrosse, staying close to home, and still getting an experience of being, what could be a college athlete. Did all their tryouts and all that, and that's kind of where my officiating side kind of began at. So did all their like fall tryouts and had a little bit of officiating experience from high school because I took a class for athletic training actually, and in that class they wanted you to become an official during there as part of your curriculum. You did a fall sport, a winter sport, and a spring sport. So
Oh, okay.
originally I got started to doing football, basketball, and baseball during that time span. Didn't do it to begin my college year, but by the time January rolled around, I had met a few people that I had officiating my games growing up, and then I had also been a coach against me when playing baseball. He's from La Crescent, Minnesota, and he basically asked the question like, do you want to get into officiating? You can make some easy money. You could get in shape, basically get paid to watch a game. I'm like, sure, why not? Let's do it. So
Hmm.
I did my second semester of freshman year officiating. You're like JV and freshman middle school basketball. Got into a little bit of JV middle school baseball officiating, and then really kind of kicked it off, going full go with varsity football, varsity basketball, varsity baseball that kind of sophomore year, and I've just kind of gone exponential since there.
For sure. Now I have to ask, most people when they're growing up, they're playing sports, they want to be an athlete, they want to be a star. I would say that there is a considerable percentage less that want to grow up and be a ref.
Mhm.
Now, like, was this something that, like you said, it was extra money at first, and then it kind of grew up from there? But, um, what were those initial refereeing experiences like? That what when was the moment that you really kind of felt like, yeah, I could actually, I could do this. I could do this full time, or
Yeah.
on the side.
So yeah, it kind of came back to more or less just those kind of first initial like JV middle school like basketball games that freshman year of college. And it really wasn't necessarily from the officiating side of things. Like, hey, I'm in the rules books. I know what I'm doing. Like, I feel like I'm quote unquote better than the players and the coaches. But it's
Mm-hmm.
more or less like, hey, I'm out here like having fun, getting some exercise, like giving back to the game that I grew up playing, and wanted to continue to be an athlete in. And in a sense, still I'm an athlete in those realms, in those sports, just in a different span. And then the
Sure.
relationships too amongst everything else, getting to know all these different men and women, old and young across the way, just seeing what their experiences are like and kind of changing that and seeing how I can put that into my own life.
That's
For
cool.
sure.
So you kind of felt like like a connection with doing this. This is your, like your life and what you enjoy, and then you could be the best seat in the house, frankly, to check it out, but then also get the exercise around it. Was there an immediate sport that came out as your favorite to ref? Were you like, this is the one, maybe because it's more fun or easier or something like that?
I would say, I mean, obviously, football, basketball, baseball all have their kind of own
Mm-hmm.
generic areas, and their own love for everything. But I would say football probably came out to be like my top one,
Mm-hmm.
um, just because of the fact being that like you're further away from the fans and the coaches because you can either be in the middle of the field, kind of on an island, um, versus and you get to really focus on like your kind of general position
Mm-hmm.
versus like basketball, you're like you're in the same official, just there's three of you out there, everybody's kind of right on top of you. And baseball's kind of been I've actually given up doing baseball for the reason
Mm-hmm.
being that the game takes too long. B, the pay isn't that great. And C, the parents that sit behind home plate, thank you, MLB, for the automated strike zone, have made life terrible.
I was gonna
Yeah.
ask that. Like, that has to be horrible. Like, these parents just are outrageous sometimes. I mean, are you kicking folks out like left and right, or is it like just everyone just be quiet for a second? What, like, do they listen to you?
If I'm doing a currently like a youth basketball game, like on the weekends, like at a middle school tournament or like one of these AU tournaments, I will kick parents out. I will kick
Wow.
parents out. I will throw uh, kids out if like they're sitting on the sideline or whatever. Because it's not about me. It's not about those parents. It's all about the kids
Yeah. Yeah.
that are on the court. It's their experience. It's their kind of joy and opportunity to show themselves and have some fun with some of their friends.
Hmm.
Versus like a high school game or doing college football currently. I leave that up to administration. If there's a
Yeah.
parent that I know is being kind of obnoxious or over the top, cussing, swearing, death threats, whatever, um, I will have, yeah, yeah.
Like, to your
I'll
face,
have.
like I'm gonna kill you. Is that like what they would say?
There have been some people that have said that,
Oh my
Oh
and
wow.
and oh yeah, yeah, and there was a playoff game that we had here for football a few, like probably 2 seasons ago, down in your guys' area, down in Hartford, Wisconsin.
God.
Mhm.
And we were game got over with. Hartford lost. We were walking on the field, and a school board member, walked up to us and said, "You guys did a effing terrible job. You shouldn't be out here. You're not. You have no reason to be out here. You should be ashamed of yourselves." And it
Wow.
was and actually, did I say school board member? I meant city council member, which makes
Oh,
it even
that's
Oh,
worse.
even worse. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that makes it even worse. So,
Oh my God.
yeah, absolutely. Wow. I mean, okay, it is, I think it kind of comes with the territory that people are gonna unfortunately harass you, but I mean, how do you handle that? Because
Yeah.
even from like the grade school level, like, okay, so bad example here, but I coached for a small amount of time. My wife and I coached grade school basketball. And it was like fourth
boo.
and fifth grade girls basketball. I felt compelled. There were a couple games that I had to chirp the ref a little bit, not because I wanted to get teed up in a grade school girls basketball game. I thankfully didn't, but it came as like second nature as a coach that I felt like I gotta try and get a call here. I gotta try and get some, you know what I mean? Like at the lowest level of competition. Let's be real. How do you deal with somebody that is in your ear all day, especially when it's in those situations where it's somebody of prominence, like a city council or somebody from the school board or whatever?
Mm-hmm. I will say this: if they are a parent or a coach that's on the sideline, and If you have a question, a legitimate question, I will answer it all day, every day. If you are a player, even if you have a question, I will answer that all day, every day. Because my job to answer your questions legitimate, because I'm either A, going to help you out so you understand why we're doing something the way we are, or why we're not calling something, and B, you have the right to know. You have the right to ask a question. It's the statement of, ref, you missed this, or travel, or there's a foul, or why didn't you call this? And not necessarily even, why did you call this, or why didn't you call this? It's a, why didn't you call this as I'm running by you kind of scenario.
Yeah.
Those I let go. It's the fact of the matter that the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, or all your professional sports have now seen an increase in the players, kind of not necessarily being crybabies, but those that are looking for calls or being the superstars that they are, thinking that they run the show, yada yada yada. Now it's starting to translate down to your college, your middle, your grade school, your high school, all that. So
Yeah.
unless it's like a legitimate question and you're actually in the game as a coach or a player, I'll answer it. Otherwise, I let it go.
Yeah. And I feel like that's part of it too, is like now it's become part of the game to almost to try and like work the ref kind of thing, to see if you can get him on your side or make him see something. Like there's almost like head games that go into it, but that is literally just obstructing your job as an official.
Well, I guess let's ask it this way, Zach. Does any of that ever work? Where like a coach is trying to like get on your good side or try like in your opinion, have you ever been like, oh, okay, like what he like I'll roll with that, or like these coaches that talk about this all the time, does any of that actually work inside the head of it? My assumption is no, but I'm curious.
Consciously, no.
Yeah.
Subconsciously, yes.
Sure. Okay.
And yeah, and I say that because it's like, you'll have those that are like yelling travel or 5 seconds or 3 seconds or what have you at a basketball game. And at the exact same time, I'm calling something. So it's like, in a way, the other team thinks that, oh, you're just being biased to that coach, whatever. But I think the one thing that, parents, coaches, players almost have to take a step back and think about nowadays isn't like, hey, try and work the referee. Like there's an official shortage as is across the entire country, across every single sport. I mean, just recently actually last week there was a softball game for the Wisconsin Dells High School that got canceled due to an official shortage for the varsity team.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's starting to hit the high school level here in Wisconsin. How soon is it going to hit the youth level? Although it already has in a way, because you might get only one referee out there for a basketball game, which puts a liability on me as the official and those that are running the tournaments now too. I think everybody needs to take a step back and be like, hey, I'm just here to either play, coach, have fun. If I'm good enough to, get to the next level, fine. Show your emotion, have some fun, like be aggressive, be the athlete and, figure you are, but also realize like I'm human.
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss a call. I'm gonna call something that you don't like, and it happens. I'm not perfect, and I never state that I am going to be perfect going into the game.
I like that. I like that. It makes sense. The last thing I'll ask, just like kind of a joking thing, but I'm really curious your take on this because I've talked about this a lot with my friends and just like like let's say a college basketball game, the ref is coming on the court, the home team is down by 2, and the home team draws a charge right on the guy driving from the away team, and the ref takes 5 steps towards the middle of the court and goes like with as much gusto as possible. I feel
real
like
demonstrative.
they're trying to like that situation. I've seen it a couple of times. It doesn't happen often, but like trying to like feed into this home crowd going nuts, like when they should just be like that, and they take 5 crow steps. It doesn't happen often. Only there's like 3 refs that I've seen ever do it. Most don't, frankly, just to but like have you seen that? And if you have, like, what are your thoughts on like sometimes that happening, or like that type of environment?
Yeah, so I have seen it.
Yeah.
The one person I can think of off the top of my head is former NBA official Jerry Crawford.
Oh, sure.
Did it where he took like all the way to the 3 point line. He was on the end line. He went to the 3 point line and did it. And do I agree with the mechanic of doing that? No. Do
Mhm.
I like showing a little bit of your own take on a mechanic? Absolutely. Do I
Sure.
think
Yeah.
that do I think that you doing it like five, like do it a few steps and then punch it kind of situation? Don't do it 3, 4+ steps.
Yeah.
Just do a couple, punch it the other way. But like those that like kind of do it and like are overly overt about it
Mhm.
are trying to make themselves that kind of figure and center
Sure.
point
Yeah.
instead of like
Sure.
being the game that's actually the center point of it all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're making
That's a great
they're making the show about them a little bit.
Mhm.
I'm gonna ask a very naive question here because it is the one thing that I would be terrified of as an official. Is there are so many rules, like nuanced rules, situational rules for sports that you have to know, right? Is there ever like a fear of not knowing some like situation that you never think is gonna happen? Because or maybe something that happens at the professional level that it's a different rule book down for the high school level, different level for the varsity versus JV. Well, I guess maybe not so much there, but high school versus college versus professionals, like having to know all these like rule 15 article B section 2 says this is an offensive charge right here. Like, do you have to worry about that sort of stuff, or does that ever go through your head, or do you kind of uh if you run into those situations, you hope the team just kind of figures that out, your officiating crew?
Yeah. I that does it is a fear of mine, I will say. But the one thing I have always kind of had a pride for myself is that I will never let a team lose or have a situation happen where I could be more prepared for it and know the rule or know some of these nuances or different, you know, high school football versus college football has different variables. High school basketball to college basketball doesn't has these different variables. Same thing with the NBA. So it's like you know, I always take a pride in knowing the rules and knowing these nuances. And if there's something that I don't know, then that's when I bring everybody else together because we should
Mhm.
all be taking pride in what we're doing. And, we're out there for the kids.
Right.
It's not about me. Yeah, yes, is a goal of mine to potentially move up and advance to a next level? Absolutely,
Mhm.
because I enjoy it that much. But I try and go to as many camps and clinics and listen to all these like rule studies meetings or get in the rule book and understand like rule rule 9 section 3 article 4b know these different rules because it's like hey I'm here I'm not going to make it an error on my side
Yeah.
where a team loses or a play happens that I could
Mhm.
have prevented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the one you just gave there was the tuck rule. I think that's where
Yeah,
that's
that
at.
was the tuck rule. Yes,
Well,
Oh,
absolutely.
the
Sure.
Tom Brady rule that makes so much
yeah.
sense.
So on that, Zach, I have to imagine this takes some time to learn this. And you sound like a student of the game, and this is something you enjoy. But how do you balance that? How do you do what you do during the day and sort of have this at night, if you will? I can imagine you probably travel and some weekend work, maybe some weeknight work. How is that for you, just time management wise, and what does that look like?
Yeah. So, for example, going into kind of football season,
Mhm.
high school football begins the second full week of August every
Mhm.
year because that's when like practices and scrimmages fully start to get going, and then the next week is when games begin. So, I kind of take a look at it from a standpoint of all right, the in season is kind of like a 3 month time span. You have all especially for college football, you have
Mhm.
September through November in a sense for 95% of the games. And then you have your division one games that have, your bowl games or whatever in December. And that is what it is. So
Mhm.
during that season, I would go like, have my high school game on a Friday, have my college game on a Saturday. Sunday, I'll go over my my film if it's available to me, to break down every play, to see what calls I had, to make sure that they're correct. If they're incorrect, put my reasoning for why I called it into there. Kind of do that Sunday morning. By the time Sunday afternoon comes around, hopefully have that all done so that then I can spend some time with family. And then Monday comes around, if there's any questions from the game that the entire crew has, go into it and answer those questions. Tuesday, we start to look ahead to the next week's game. Wednesday, we have a crew call. Thursday, we it's kind of the day off, if you will, but before getting prepared for Friday, and we do it all over again. So that's kind of September. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is. And it's just a matter of I couldn't do it full go if I didn't have a wife and a family that is supportive of me along the way.
For sure.
That's the one thing that I've always known, is that if I don't have a supportive home life or someone that is on board for it 100%, there's no way I could do this as much as I am.
Yeah,
sure. I think a lot of people. I'm just saying. I think a lot of people. I think a lot of people don't realize that that it's a full week job. That most of the time when you get to game day on, let's say, high school Friday night, I'm sure a lot of the people, 99% of the people in the crowd, think, oh, these guys just showed up. They might think, oh, these guys were at the bar before, and then they showed up here, and now they're reffing a game. But go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, and I think there's a bit of like I had no idea that's prep, because I knew like the announcers have to prep like that. Actually, one of my best friends, Dave Tewksbury, who listens to this show, one of my college roommates, he is an announcer. He's the voice of one of a college program out in North Dakota, and he tells me about the prep that it takes. I had no idea that referees have to do the same thing. I think probably a lot of listeners, I would venture to guess, don't. Do you find yourself do you find yourself having to explain this sometimes to people of like, here's really the work? Like, it's not, and to Alan's point, I'm thinking Friday night football games that the guys just kind of showed up and were there and reffing it and leaving, and that is what it is. But that really is a full-time job. I mean, almost in of itself to do that. That's a lot of work and prep. I mean, that's I want how often are you telling people this? If that's the case.
You'd be surprised. Most people don't ask the question. The question of like, how much time and effort do you put into this? It's more or less the question of why are you doing this? That's probably the question I get asked more times than not. But again, like you guys were saying, like, I'm not Joe Schmo that slept at a Super 8 the night before. Had no idea what was happening. First person to walk through the door. Here's a uniform. You're going on the field and officiating. That's just not what it is. I mean. College is definitely a full-time job. There are some high school officials, and unfortunately, you probably see it every now and then if you go to some high school games around the state and around the country, where you see like those that are just kind of here. They really don't necessarily look the part. They don't necessarily kind of act the part. They're just kind of here because they want to be here. But then, I mean, on top, besides just like the in-season stuff, then you have like your off-season or preseason like trainings, from the month of March through this weekend. I will have traveled to Utah, to St. Louis, to Madison for scrimmages and practices, and then this weekend I'm heading down to Houston for a college officiating camp, actually, where I'm doing some scrimmages, still doing classroom stuff, to get myself better. On top of that, and then in the middle of summer, then we have the rules test, and for staying on top of all the rule studies, the certifications. The new rules proposals came out here 2 weeks ago for college football. We'll have like our mandatory like conference meetings, and then we get right into the season. So college is definitely like a full. Yeah, it's definitely like a full grind. It's a full year kind of thing when you talk about college. High school, there are those that want to do this and really put the time and effort into it, and we'll go like a full week kind of schedule versus those that are just like, hey, I've been doing it for 35 years. I'm just here.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that too, because you're about our age. But what does the pool of refs look like right now? Are there a lot of younger guys coming in? I know we said official shortage, but I mean, are there some younger guys coming in, or is it mostly, you're the young guy out there on the field?
Unfortunately, there are not very many young people getting into it currently, and it comes back to the stigma of I don't want either it's generational. I don't want to work this hard. I don't really care. I should be given everything. And then there's those that are like, I don't want to get yelled at. I want to do this. Like I want to stay involved in sports and everything that have grown up doing, but I don't want to get yelled at. So I think it
Mhm.
kind of is a challenge. And currently there are more people that are 65 and above that are officiating versus those that are 26 and younger.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
there's I think the National Association of Sports Officials did a survey here recently, and the average age for a basketball official in the state of Wisconsin is 62 years old.
Oh
Wow.
my goodness. Wow.
And
Average.
and I think there was less than 5% in under the age of 30.
Oh my
Goodness.
goodness.
You're right. That's like an AARP conference happening in the state of Wisconsin for refs. My goodness.
I was gonna say the number of like refs that are like, I remember when there was no 3-point line, like things like that, where like,
Yeah.
wow, that's eye-opening for sure. Well, let's try and encourage that. If somebody
Yeah.
wants to be
Bring them out.
if somebody wants to become an official, what's the way to go about it? I mean, are you able to just show up to somebody to one of these conferences and say, "Hey, I'd like to join"? Like, how do you go about it?
Yeah, so if there are those that are currently, and this goes for the state of Wisconsin, if there are those that are students currently in high school in the state of Wisconsin, and you want to, get out and officiate or learn how to be an official, whether it's middle school, and normally it's 2 years, but you are able to officiate kind of 2 years below your current age, just because you don't want that conflict of interest, thinking that the game is too fast for you or whatever.
Mhm.
You just go talk to your athletic director and say, "Hey, I want to become an official."
Mm.
You will fill out the information, what sports you want to do, and they'll do your background check. They'll do, they'll get you signed up for everything for absolutely free. So you can have
Cool.
4 years of not having to pay a dime of for officiating and just increase your bank account, if you will, as a high school kid, and really learn and get to grow. If you are, but on top of that, if you are, a military, you get a discounted certification for the state of
Mm.
Wisconsin as
Huh.
a kind of thank you for your service situation.
Mhm.
Sure.
But otherwise, if you go to the Wisconsin Intercollegiate Athletic Association, or WIAWI.org. There's a tab on there that is officials, and on there you can do registrations and licenses. And that's
Cool.
where you can go ahead, sign up for everything. If you want to do like one sport, it costs you $40 is all it
Oh
is,
wow.
and
Yeah, it's
you can make that payment back in one game typically.
yeah, absolutely. I was gonna say that's great, and that's gonna help. Hopefully, let's hope cut down that
Get more.
shortage as well.
Yeah.
Um, I, I have to ask one more thing, and then I will shut up after this. Is can you watch a pro game and and can you enjoy it? Because I'm sure that there is so much that you see where you're like, that call is wrong, or they could have made this call, or there's so many questionable AB things. Can you enjoy watching a pro game? Then we got the playoffs going on right now. So is that something you
So
could
I
do?
So I will say this: I cannot watch the NBA for the fact that I don't believe it to be, in my opinion, true basketball.
Yeah.
More of an entertainment, kind of like how WWE is more of an
Sure.
entertainment. Um, but when you're talking about like baseball or football or kind of anything else, like I'll watch that all day, every day, and enjoy it. I will try and make the calls from as a couch official, if you will, kind of like
Mhm.
how you
Oh,
guys
yeah.
probably do every now and then.
Absolutely. I do it, and I am not certified to do that.
Yes, gonna say definitely have my better opinions than Alan and I do. That's for sure. That's
But
great.
no, I will say I probably watch the officials more often than I do the actual game. But
Hmm.
I think that just comes with the territory of it
Yeah.
all.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now, Zach, do you find that either, the refing life influences your sales life or vice versa? Do you find that there's things that you're learning in one place that you can bring to the other, or are they totally separate? How is that for you?
I think the where it kind of all ties together is the capability to talk to people and get to know who they are or where they're from, and just not as I mean, sales, yeah, it's great. I'm trying to sell you something, I'm trying to make some money off of you, but at the same time, I'm just here to try and get to know you as a person. I just
Hmm.
want to instead of, and that goes the same thing with officiating too. Like, yeah, I'm trying to be out here and do a job and everything, but it's more or less just the fact of, hey, I'm just here to get to know you. I'm here to have some fun with some of my friends that I want to be around and watch a great game kind of
Hmm.
situation.
Hmm. Absolutely. And it's always interesting to us because we talk to a lot of people who do a lot of different stuff, and like seemingly some jobs are like just totally different and don't have anything in common, but there's always some level of intrinsic value that goes from the hustle, which, the passion, to a day job or vice versa. So I think it's important. And I can imagine, yeah, conflict resolution, like who you're, like how to shut something down or how to move forward. It's a very critical thing to get, and then you develop relationships along the way, which is cool too. So yeah, I can see how that would impact both sides.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
absolutely. So I'm gonna ask one more naive question just because I thought of it and I can't not ask. Is there a heckle that has ever gotten to you that you like has gotten you to laugh, even if you can't, show that on the court, or like one that like what was the best one that when you're standing there on the sideline you're like, all right, they got me on that.
I'll be honest.
Anything come to
My
mind?
I'll say my memory is so bad when you try and I can remember a play or a call that I made, but if it's something being said from whether it's a player or a coach or whatever, I just try and tune that out as much as
You do.
possible.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the sign of a
I
good
think
official, though.
yeah.
That's the sign of a good official, is what that
It
is,
is. Zone it all out. You're good to go. That's funny because I've come up with a couple good ones, so I'll have to test a few of
Yeah,
mine and see what.
Jim was a Marquette super fan that was up close, and I was up there with you a few times,
That's
but
right. That's right. They could hear my
Jim would
voice
let a
really good.
ref hear it.
Yeah. Although I would say I yelled at the opposing coach much more than I yelled at any ref. I didn't do that as much. The opposing coach is who got a handful, especially if his name was Rick Pitino, then he got a real
Yeah.
hand. That was usually
What do
had
you
a
mean?
lot of fun with that.
Rick did nothing wrong.
Yeah, a
He's a
lot of
class act.
I made a lot of bathroom stall comments. Let's just say
Oh
that.
my God.
We're good to go.
On that
Those
note,
20-second timeout, Zach, you can get a whole lot done.
yeah. Oh
I
my
couldn't
God. On
resist.
that note, Zach, if people want to actually get in touch with you and maybe learn a little bit more about this, or reach out to you about, or try to get you to work a game. I know some athletic directors, maybe. Where's the best place to go and find you, or should people get in touch with you?
Yeah, if anybody wants to reach out and ask me any questions, whether it's a rules, like say they're a coach or a player or an athletic director or just a fan that has a rules question or wants to just talk and get to know the officiating side of things, or just talk sports in general, that's something that I am always happy to talk about. They can shoot me an email at Z Neisius, Neisius, the number two at gmail.com. And I can talk to them there. And then, once we start to go from there, it's a phone call or a Zoom kind of like this.
Mhm.
I'd be happy to set that up with them and, just have a group discussion or, an individual discussion with somebody about it.
Yeah, let's get some refs out of this. Let's
Yes, absolutely.
get some
Bring them
people
all
signed
up.
up. Not Jim and
So
I.
it
We
sounds
are
like
not
I was going to
refs.
say,
Yeah.
you two are coming on, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't want us, but yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
But
Definitely
there's
would
other
not
people.
want
There's
us.
other people who will do it. Absolutely.
Yeah. And we don't say this enough, but thank you for your service as a
Yes,
referee. Thank
we
you for what you
appreciate
provide to not only the sports, but so many youth athletes,
you. Mm.
or athletes of any level. We're gonna watch, and hopefully we'll see you on some network TV soon, working at the highest of levels too.
That's right. That's right.
So
Absolutely. Appreciate it,
Awesome.
guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for being on. And if you are watching for the first time, thank you for checking us out as well. We're the Hustling Sideways podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook, X, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, all of the places.
All the places.
All the places. You can rate this show 5 stars. That does help us out in the big old algorithms out there. Helps us push our stuff out into people's feeds. So please go and do that. It's the only one you can legally give us. That's a rule, right, Jim? That's a
Yes,
rule. We can
correct. We don't
only
make the rules. We just speak them into existence. And yes,
yeah, and now we've got a confirmed referee that can tell
that's
you
right.
the
That's
only
it.
thing you can rate us is 5 stars. You got to
It'd be
do
an
it.
offensive foul if you did it. So
Yep.
there you
And then Duke gets the ball back, and you don't have a timeout left. So
Yeah,
that's
I'll say I'd
so.
probably throw somebody out if they gave you a 1-star rating. So
There we go.
There we go.
He's
Perfect.
got the whistle.
All right.
We're set. Good to go.
Yes, so thank you so much. If you want to be a guest on the show as well, you can drop us a line. It's hustlingsideways@gmail.com. And Jim,
Keep on hustling.
we will see you next week.
Peace.